This is Nicole from Renursing EDU, and on today's video, we're going to talk about NP board study tips. So coming up in May, a lot of people are going to be graduating from nurse practitioner school, and obviously you need to study so you can pass your board exam. I'm going to share with you some of the tips that I wrote about in my book, and it helps kind of put together a study plan for you guys as a nurse practitioner student. And even if you have already graduated, something that you can follow a little bit different since you're not still in school, if you're not in school now, but something that you can follow so that way you can go ahead and take your boards and feel confident and prepared before you actually get there. So I want to say, after you graduate, you do not want to take 3, 4, 5 months off and then take your boards. You want to take your boards as soon as feasibly possible, as soon as you're ready. Obviously, you do need to put in some study time. I do know of some people that were in my class that actually took the board right after they graduated, or maybe a little bit before they graduated. That's possible sometimes depending on when the certification board gets your transcripts and everything from your school. So it is possible to take your boards before you graduate, but I didn't do that. I took my boards about a month after I graduated, and I think that's the ideal time because, for one, you're still in study mode, and for two, not that much time has passed, and for three, a month gives you adequate time to set up a study schedule and stick to it and feel very prepared when you go into your boards. So this study schedule that I'm going to go over and the study routine that I'm going to go over will work for either board exam that you're taking for a nurse practitioner, as in the ANCC or the AANP, okay? So starting out, if you're still a student, I would suggest getting a board review book, maybe a couple. When I was in my cohort, I had my study group and we all had like a different review book, but it was great. Even before your last semester, I would probably suggest getting a review book. This is stuff I wish I knew way back when I was in school. So I didn't get my review book until maybe like the last semester of school. And I kind of think, looking back to it now, it's like it would have been a whole lot more useful earlier on in the school year, because sometimes the way the book presents information is different from the way your instructors present information, and it's easier for you to retain or easier for you to learn. And that totally happened in my case. So once I got the review book and I was like, oh, they simplified this concept in my head that was so difficult, they simplified it. And so now I know what it is. So I would suggest getting the review book as soon as possible, okay? But if you're in your last semester, this is what I did. And I'm reading from one of my books here. So this is what I did. Like I said, purchase a review book. I said during the last semester or earlier if you can, but whatever. Study with your study for your actual exams in school with the review book as well. That'll help. Okay. Take a review course, okay? The review course that I took was amazing. So I had the Fitzgerald team come to Houston, Texas, and put on a review course for my cohorts in my class. And I don't know if they still offer this now, but what you can do is you can contact Fitzgerald and you can ask them if you look on their calendar of where the review courses are, and now things may be virtual. I apologize, I was not in school during a pandemic, but look at their calendar and see where the review courses are. And if there's not any the exact time and location that you may need, see if you can contact them and say, hey, if I have enough classmates that are interested in doing this, will you do a review course here in my local area? And that's exactly what I did. And I coordinate and everything because we needed a review course that was centrally located in Houston. So it was actually not that far from our school. And it was put on maybe a week or two after we graduated, but we had it there. So we didn't have to travel. No one had to get hotel accommodations or anything else like that. We were able to have the Fitzgerald team come to us and do a board review. So if this is an option, I would take full advantage. I don't know if they're still doing it, but I would check with them or any other board review that you know of, like Hoyer or whoever else, Leak, and see if they will actually bring a review course to you. So the only thing I had to do was get my classmates together, say, yeah, I'm interested, and then I had to find a hotel. That's it, and they put together everything else, okay? So during that review course, things were broken down so much easier than what our instructors had explained to us previously. So this kind of goes back to what I said about getting their review book earlier in the school year and also taking a review course as soon as you can. So my review course was after graduation, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to do your review course during your last semester of school, or maybe even earlier, because it went through a whole lot of information and just simplified things for me. Okay, so your review book, read that review book from front to back and answer all the practice questions in that book. So also you need to make a schedule, because I understand these books are like 300 pages long. You need to make a schedule so you're not reading 150 pages at a time. What you're going to do is you're going to break it down by body system. So week 1, you're going to do cardiology, and you're going to read the chapter on cardiology, and you're going to do all the review questions on cardiology. Okay? So you make your schedule. So on week 1, we're going to do cardiology and we're doing pulmonary. So that week, those are the only 2 subjects that you're focusing on. And if you have a second review book, like a lot of students do, what I suggest is after you review cardiology in review book 1 and you do the questions in review book 1, you go to review book 2 and just cement that information. So reread that information in the review book number 2, because it may be presented in a different way that makes things easier to understand, something that you can pick up easier, and that way you can remember it easier for your exam. Just reinforcement is the key, okay? So if you are not picking up on my clues right now, it's reinforcement, 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 okay? Also, if you are having difficulty, so say for instance, you did the cardiology section and you did the questions and you were still confused and you went to the second review book and maybe it's a little bit clearer, but you're not quite still there, get another book. So look back on your supplemental textbooks from school, so your actual books that you learned, whatever course that was, and open up that chapter. And if you're confused about a certain subject, just read up on it again. Also, so we know that your test is not going to be that you're reading and you're doing an oral exam or anything like this. You're going to be working on a computer. That's what your exam is going to be. So what you need to do is you need to be involved in some kind of test bank. So you need to actually have access to a test bank. So a test practice bank, so you can practice questions. So once again, I'm going to reiterate. You're going to read over whatever chapter it is. You're going to do those test questions in the book. If you're still a little confused, you're going to go to review book number 2, and then possibly 3 if you still have issues. And then on top of that, at least 2 times a week, you need to be working on practice questions on computer format. Okay? So if you're working on cardiology, go and see if you can just do a specific exam on cardiology only. So that's all you're focusing on that week, cardiology. So everything is cardiology related as far as reading and as far as doing your test questions. And that goes the same for if you are adding a second subject a week. So say for instance, you're doing a month study schedule. So you're at least hitting 2 or 3 subjects per week. So that means you're going to be doing test questions for those 3 subjects that week. And I'm not asking you to do 100 test questions on each subject, because that's a lot. What I'm saying is after you've done everything in your review books and you're doing the practice questions on the computer, maybe do about 15, 20 of each subject. So therefore, throughout the week, you'll have about 75 to 100, depending on what subject you're studying. Okay, so every week you're doing practice questions on the computer as well. Okay, the next thing is to study consistently. This is not meaning that I only study on Mondays for 30 minutes and I skip Tuesday, and then I don't study again till Wednesday for another 30 minutes. I mean, you have to be consistent. I understand we're busy. I understand you may have a family, you may have a job, everything else, but you've got to set everything aside just for a minimal amount of time. And I'm saying about a month, a minimal amount of time, so you can get your boards passed, and then therefore you can go out and look for a job as a nurse practitioner. So it's a little bit of a sacrifice, but on my study schedule, I blocked out a certain amount of time, 2 hours at a time, an hour at a time, whatever it was. And then on top of that, when you're blocking out your time, in order for you not to get burned out, so every 45 minutes or so, you need to get up, take a stretch, go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, do some jumping jacks, whatever, and then sit back down and do another 45-minute block. Okay? So that way your brain is not like constantly overloaded, and you can give yourself a rest every 45 minutes or so. Okay? All right. We are also going to say study consistently when and wherever you can, but the week of your exam, I want to say you don't study at all for 2 days before your exam, because at this point, 2 days before your exam, what are you really going to learn? If you don't know it 2 days before your exam, you don't know it, and you're not going to learn it in 2 days, and it's just going to stress you out. So do not study up until the day of your exam. Do not do it. And I will say I have never done that. I've taken 4 boards. So I've taken my LPN, my RN. Oh, excuse me. I've taken 3, not 4. I've taken my LPN, I've taken RN, and I've taken family nurse practitioner. And I said 4 because I did CCRN too, but whatever. In all of those tests, I studied, but the 2 days before I was scheduled to go in for my exam, I did not. I gave my brain a break. I rested the day before. I'd go and get a massage. So that way, when I walked into the testing center, I was completely relaxed. Because if you start studying and you're studying up until the minute, it's just going to stress you out. You're going to get so stressed, especially that stuff you thought you learned in 2 days. You're not going to know it. You're going to forget. You're going to stumble over stuff. It's just not worth it. So those were my study tips. I hope that this helps somebody out there. So nurse practitioner student, I hope I caught you while you were still in school. And if not, if you've already graduated, you can still apply these principles and help you pass your board exam. But if you have any questions, you can leave a comment for me. Join our board review group on Facebook. And last but not least, please like this video, subscribe, and share with others. Thank you. Bye-bye.